Welcome to CFA Level 3 tutorial. Today, let's look at the first topic of the curriculum, behavioral biases. There are two types of behavioral biases. One type is called cognitive bias. These biases come from faults or mistakes in processing information. Examples of such bias include representativeness bias and information processing bias. They all influence how people process new information. In availability bias, people pick the information that first comes to their mind. The other type is emotional error. As the name explains itself, these biases result from emotions or impulses, rather than objective reasoning. One example is loss aversion, where investors hold on to stocks when prices drop. They may also sell stocks when prices go up in order to lock in gains. There are 3 key points to remember while studying for this topic. First, you have to know the definition of each bias. Not to memorize by heart, but to know which one is which and do not mix them up. Second, when presented with scenarios, you should be able to identify which bias is in play. Finally, once the bias in question is identified, what to do as an investment advisor to help your clients make informed investment decisions. Let's practice now with an example. Suppose that you work as an investment advisor and has a client named Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith is a middle-aged man who works as an engineer and who likes investing in companies that he hears his friends talk about. He now comes to you and says he wants to buy shares of company XYZ. Mr. Smith says he does not know much about company XYZ, but he strongly believes in himself. Also, he believes the reason for which he has made profit in the stock market in the past is that he was able to choose the good companies. There are 2 biases at play here in this scenario. The first one is overconfidence bias. Mr. Smith is very confident about his ability to invest in profitable companies, although he does not know much about these companies. The other bias is self-attribution. Mr. Smith takes credit for his past successes in investment. However, these successes may have been due to luck only, rather than real investment talent or skills. Once the biases in the scenario have been identified, it is now time to consider how to help the client manage the negative effects of these biases. For emotional biases, such as overconfidence bias in the case of Mr. Smith, an investment advisor should not attempt to reason with the client. In fact, emotional biases are spontaneous and come from clients' emotions. These biases do not depend on reasoning. Therefore, an investment advisor should adapt the investment plan to the client's bias rather than try to correct the bias. In contrast with emotional bias, cognitive bias comes from mental process and reasoning. Although it involves reasoning, the reasoning is mistaken or faulty. Therefore, an investment advisor can try to correct the bias by providing the client with more information about the investment. This educational process can help the client correct the bias. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about the material, please ask in the comments below and I will make sure to answer it. Happy study and see you next time.